It's not looking good. So police looked further into what the allegations were about, and apparently, around mid-October, Brian and Ivonne got in a fight, and neighbors could hear an altercation ongoing since they lived in a 5-unit hostel apartment unit style building, and the neighbors were all extremely close by one another, including that property manager who lived right next door. Neighbors heard yelling, loud noises, and Brian punched Ivonne in the face, causing bruising around her eyes and on her arms. Ivonne ended up taking photos of this injury, which was later found during the investigation into her disappearance. Police knew that Yvonne's last known communication was via email and on November 21st, from that email exchange with her cousin. So now they had to work to figure out the last time that she was actually physically seen. So as they were doing their digging, they confirmed that Brian and Ivonne were confirmed to have gone to dinner at Carlos's Steakhouse, a local restaurant, on November 26, 2011, and they were also seen leaving together. But it seems like after that, Ivonne was physically a ghost. At least nobody had seen or spoken to her, but her online communication and her bank activity were still ongoing. On November 27th, there was money withdrawn from her bank account. 2 days later, on the 29th, there was an email from Yvonne's account. A couple of weeks later, on December 11th, another email from Yvonne's account. More money was withdrawn from her bank account that same day. And then a week later, Brian emailed Yvonne. That same day, there was an email from Yvonne's account. Then a few days later, the day after Christmas, another email from Yvonne's account. But then investigators made a very grim discovery. Not only was the white Sony laptop that Brian insisted wasn't Yvonne's actually Yvonne's, but internet searches were found on the laptop. We always say Google searches will be the death of any suspect. Why people aren't smarter by now in this day and age, I don't know. But once again, thank you for being a complete moron, Brian, because the Google searches were extremely telling. There was a search for washing mattress and another search for washing mattress bloodstain. So at this point, investigators started to realize that they were beginning to uncover Brian's elaborate scheme to cover up whatever he did to Yvonne. The FBI knew Brian knew way more than he was telling, and in June of 2013, Brian was hit with an indictment of numerous federal obstruction of justice charges, giving false statements to federal officers and falsifying records after his web of lies became completely exposed. In total, he was charged with 13 felonies related to covering up Yvonne's death. But Brian insisted he was not guilty, and his new wife, Kristen, stood right by his side as he remained in custody. Yvonne's family still had been searching for her, including her sister Michelle. They had no answers, and her sister never stopped advocating for Yvonne or getting Yvonne's story out in the public. They knew that Yvonne wouldn't be coming home alive at this point, but they were still determined to find her and to bring her home. However, the search for Yvonne on the island proved to be extremely difficult, given the climate, the dense jungle areas, and, of course, the ocean. Yvonne could have been anywhere. The search for Yvonne lasted almost 2 years, when finally major news broke.
There is a dramatic development this morning in the case of a missing California woman who's been missing for almost 2 years. Ivonne Badelli disappeared after traveling from California to Panama with her boyfriend. They had decided to live there. Now he's accused of covering up her disappearance, and the FBI is involved.